Pressing HTV can be intimidating, but I'm going to show you how easy it can be right after this intro. Today I'm going to show you how to make a custom t-shirt with heat transfer vinyl. Now the things that we're going to need are laid out on this table. The first thing is our Cricut design space along with our Cricut machine. In this case we're using the Cricut Maker, and I'm going to teach you a little bit more about how to use it. We're going to need a mat. Typically comes with the machines, but in this case we have an off-brand mat that we're going to use to be able to load it into the machine and cut our design. We're going to need a pair of scissors. We're going to need our t-shirt that we're going to apply the heat transfer vinyl to. We're going to need some sort of weeding tool or knife, something to pick at the excess material. In this case we're going to be using a home iron. And then last but not least, we're going to need a little bit of HTV. In this case we're going to go for white. We're going to go for a very simple monochromatic design. We're going to go over the basics, and then maybe in another video we'll go over something a little bit more complicated with multiple colors and multiple finishes. Alright, so I'm going to get this stuff out of the way for 1 second, simply because I'm going to start with Cricut design space. Alright, set this aside, we'll get to this in a minute. So the first thing we're going to do, we open up Cricut design space, and we're going to load an SVG file onto it. We're going to upload our own design. So what we're going to do here is go over to upload, and then we're going to choose to upload an image. Just be mindful, it can be a JPEG, it can be a PNG. In this case we're going to work with an SVG, which is a cut file that typically is really good for Cricut to use. So we're gonna load our file. We're gonna define it as a cut image, so that way the program recognizes the cut lines and it doesn't try to print our design. In this case it already read it as a cut file, so all we have to do is just hit upload, and then it becomes part of our images. So we're gonna select that image, and then we're gonna hit insert image. Alright, let's go ahead and find our image somewhere around here. It's giving me an error. Alright, so we have a very large image in our hands. So this may happen. What we gotta do is resize it. So a cool trick here is that you can go up to the top bar where you can do a lot of things to your design, and we can adjust the one of the parameters. In this case I'm going to adjust the width. Since I'm going on to press on a large t-shirt, I'm going to want a width of 9 inches, and make sure your lock proportions is turned on. That way when I adjust the width, the height will adjust proportionally. So we're going to go with 9 inches. So now we get to scroll back to where we were, and we'll find our design. There we go. So we have a 9-inch design. I like to bring it to the 0, 0. Okay, so the top corner. So we're ready to pretty much go ahead and cut this. Like as mentioned, it adjusted from 9 inches down to the height that it needed to be. So it's all proportional how we want it. So we're gonna go ahead and hit make it. Alright, and now what we do is you're gonna be able to see the mat that you're gonna be cutting on, and you can in this part of the process you can move around your design in case you want to have multiple pieces. You can place this in many ways. You can rotate it if you want. In this case we're just gonna find the top left corner. And one very important thing to do is to mirror your design. Since we're going to be cutting heat transfer vinyl is cut a little bit different to sticker vinyl. So you want to make sure you hit your mirror function right here. You want to turn that on. That way it flips the design, and when we go press, it's actually the way it's supposed to be. So we're gonna go ahead and hit continue. And now we're gonna connect to our Cricut device. All right. So we're gonna open up our Cricut Maker. We're gonna go ahead and turn it on. And then in this case, I have to go and find it on my Bluetooth preferences. Let me see, I will connect to it. All right, so I found my my Cricut Maker. It's over here. I'm gonna go ahead and hit connect, and that way it's connected by Bluetooth. That's the way the Maker connects to, whether it is your phone or your computer. It will be connecting to them with Bluetooth. All right, so a good telltale sign is whenever the power button turns blue, that's when you know you are connected to your Cricut Maker. So we're gonna wait and see. All right, so now that we're connected, you're gonna be able to set your material that you're gonna cut. So for this, we're gonna go with everyday iron-on. That's what you want to select on your Cricut. Pressure is gonna be default, and then now what we have to do is load our vinyl and get it on the mat. So very simple thing. You're gonna want to remove the protective film that you have on the mat and just set it aside for now. I'm gonna put it under behind my Cricut, and then we're gonna grab the HTV. In this case, I have a pretty big piece, so I don't think I'm gonna need all this. I typically use the mat as a reference. I have about 10 inches here, and I need about 3 inches of my design. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure out how much 3 inches are. You wanna minimize waste when you're doing this, you know. You're always gonna have scraps, but I personally like to minimize waste. So I'm gonna keep it at 3 inches high. That way I know my design will fit in it. And I know some people may do it a little bit more precisely. In my case, you know, I think this will do for me. So now what you want to do is make sure that you're placing your HTV the right way. So there's always going to be a shiny side that is basically a polyester backing. It's a clear polyester backing. It's going to be the shinier side, and then there's going to be a more matted out side. This matted out side is actually the thermal adhesive or the glue that goes onto the t-shirt. So you want to make sure that you're always going shiny side down. So we're going to go and find our corner here, top left corner, like we placed it on our mat, and then I can go ahead and use a squeegee, for example. If you don't have a squeegee, you can use your hands. At least what you want to do is make sure that the vinyl is flattened out and there's no crazy profile or any bubbles underneath it. So now that we have this, we're gonna go ahead and load it here, and we're gonna hit the loading button. So now our vinyl's loaded. The next thing to do is to press the start button, which will light up when it's ready. So now that we are ready to go, we just hit the start button and we go. I'm gonna put away this vinyl in the meantime. All right, now we're cutting. And then while we wait on that, we're gonna go and start our home iron. We're gonna let it warm up. And when you're working with your home iron, you want to make sure that when you're pressing HTV, you have the steam setting off. So you want to make sure you have no steam going out of this. All we want here is heat and pressure. So now we have it with no steam. I'm gonna set it to, let me see. You want to set it to like the lowest setting that you have, because we're gonna be pressing our Gimme 5 Evo HTV, which basically this B-Flex HTV presses at a low temperature. It's only 285 degrees. So most home irons are gonna heat up to, if you go to a cotton setting, it's gonna heat up to like 450 degrees, which is way too hot for our vinyl. So you wanna make sure you stay on what says either silk, polyester, or nylon, something like that. It's a low temp setting. It's typically gonna hover around the 300 degrees. But with a home iron, you're not super accurate on the heat, so you may have to evaluate what you're doing a little bit more. But hey, all you need is a home iron for it. So now the next thing we're gonna do is the process of removing our excess material. It's called weeding. So you grab a piece here. I like to grab whatever's closest to the edge, because then I can just simply grab onto a piece, get it out of there, and then just start pulling the excess material. So what we're doing right now is what's called the outside weeding. We're weeding the outside of our design. A lot of times you do have to do some inside weeding. Sometimes you have O's and A's, you know, certain letters, E's, and we're gonna be doing it here as well. So I'm removing the outside of my design, and then I'm gonna do the inside picking. So it's just as simple as that, and it reveals the clear carrier. Then in this case, it's pretty sticky, and what actually this does is when you're cutting like small detail, you want to have a sticky liner that makes sure that the material stays on there, so you can cut very fine detail. So now we're going to be doing the inside weeding. So you just pick a corner, whatever. I've seen a lot of people just go and grab the whole thing. I'm a little bit more delicate. Just grab the edge, just remove the inside of that design. So we're gonna go ahead and trash this, and we're done weeding. So basically, this is our design. It's now weeded out, and it's ready to press. So what we're going to be doing now is we're gonna be grabbing our t-shirt, we're gonna lay it out. Go this way. Gotta make sure it's all nice and flat. And we're gonna work on pre-pressing our t-shirt. Now, this is a very important step that you want to do as a decorator, and you always want to do, you know, in the future, is to pre-press your garment. A lot of times the garment has moisture in there that gets trapped during storage. You know, you may live in a very arid area that has no humidity, but maybe your garment was stored by the sea. So there's a lot of moisture that stays in the garment, and you want to make sure that you evaporate all that moisture so that the vinyl can stick properly to the fabric. So that's what we're going to be doing. I want to make sure that we are heating up. So what we're going to do now is we're going to wait for that home iron to heat up a little bit more, okay? So I'll be back in a second. All right, so now that our home iron has heated up, we're gonna go and proceed to preheat our garment or pre-press it. In this case, we're dealing with a 50-50 blend. No, this is actually a tri-blend. It has polyester, cotton, and rayon. So, and this is really cool because our Gimme 5 Evo can press on a lot of materials. It can press on all three of these specific materials: rayon, polyester, and cotton. The blend of them, you can press on leather, untreated wood. There's many things that you can press with our Gimme 5 Evo. In this case, we're just going to be doing this t-shirt. And this blank is a perfect try by District. This was provided to us by our friends at Sanmar. You guys can check out the t-shirt and the link below. I'm going to leave it in the description. So we're going to be pre-pressing the garment, and you just want to pre-press the area that you're actually going to apply the material on. So we're looking for this t-shirt about a 3 or 4 inch gap in between the color and our design. So we're going to go for 4 inches. This is a large t-shirt. So we're just going to go and iron out that moisture. It won't take too long. It's typically when you're doing it with a regular heat press, it's about 3 seconds. Since I'm going over this surface, I'm gonna go a little bit longer. Make sure we get that nice and smooth out. And you want to make sure you're pressing on a sturdy, smooth surface. You don't want to be pressing on an ironing board that has holes. You don't want to be pressing on something with a lot of uneven like profile, because you want something that's flat and sturdy and won't collapse under pressure, because we want to make sure, especially with this home iron, you're going to be applying pressure manually. So you want to make sure you have something that will be smooth and you can apply even pressure onto it. You want to basically emulate what a professional heat press would be doing, but you're going to be doing the work yourself. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to place our design. A cool tip to center your design is to grab it, basically bring it about even, and then just kind of crimp it there, and you're gonna find that line right there is the middle of your design. So we're gonna use that as our middle line and line it up with our color, and then we're gonna make sure that our design is about 4 inches below the color. So we're looking about right there. There we go. One cool thing is, like, one special thing is, like, don't ever look at the polyester carrier, because that's never going to be perfectly centered unless you want to clip, you know, both of them and use them as a reference. But most of the time you want to find that center line in your design. So now that we have it nice and ready, we're gonna get ready to press. And the cool thing about our Gimme 5 Evo and all B-Flex HTV is you don't need any cover sheet when you're applying the material, not even with a home iron. So that's one really cool thing. The material will not melt and stick to your iron. All you have to do really is just apply pressure. Normally, this material applies at 285 degrees for 4 seconds. Now, like I said, this is not a very accurate heat press per se. It's just a home iron. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little bit of troubleshooting to make sure that our design is nice in place. So instead of pressing for 4 seconds, we're gonna go to 5 to 8 seconds, and we're gonna go in sections. That's one very important thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to iron this design like this, because what's gonna happen is you're not applying pressure all the time to the right areas. So, you know, this is not 8 seconds. It needs to be 8 seconds, 8 seconds. Sort of like I mentioned, it's you want to do the motion of a clamshell heat press. So we're gonna start out with, let's start out with this section. So we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. And now we go with this section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And another risk that you run if you start moving the home iron around is that you may actually start moving your material around, because once you heat up that thermal adhesive, it becomes liquid, so you can start smearing it all over the place. So it's a hot peel, so we're gonna make sure that our design is nice and pressed on there. So it seems like we have some lift. We may have to crank up the heat a little bit more on this. So we're gonna go for the wool silk. There we go. All right. It seems like we're good, so let's go ahead and press a little bit more there. Make sure we get that nice and even pressure. All right. Alright, so there we go. We start peeling away our design. Make sure we have no lift here. you're looking for areas that may have, with this, you may have a cold spot or something like that. As I mentioned, we're doing a home iron. It's still doable. All right, so we have some lifting here. So we're gonna go ahead and right at the end, right? Go ahead and press for a little bit longer. And this is something you have to do when you're applying with a home iron. It's a little bit of a craft, no pun intended, but you know, you have to play by ear a little bit. It's not your professional setting. You know, once you do this for a few times, then you want to evolve into either Cricut Easy Press, or you want to move on to something like an actual clamshell press. You know, but it's a good starting point. So you got it. You've got, you know, your design ready to go, and that was pretty nice and simple. All right, so I hope this video was helpful and you were able to learn a little bit more about HTV and how to make your custom t-shirt. You know, it's definitely a good industry to get into and something, a good starting point. So make sure you also like and subscribe our YouTube channel. Feel free to leave a comment below if you have any questions or any comments about our video. And also go to bflexamerica.com, where you can find more information about our HTV and where you can purchase it.